A high school student named Hamada finds himself in a desperate situation while fleeing from an unknown attacker. He tries to call for help, but then realizes all his homies are useless. His only option is a friend called Kaname. However, Hamada eventually hits a dead end. Trapped with no way to escape, he pulls two razors that he can use like guns. Sadly, cool powers were not enough to save his life. His phone notifies him of his defeat, and the assailant casually walks away dressed as a panda, because if you're gonna be a super serial killer, might as well do it while being dripped from head to toe. The next day, we meet the normal everyday student Kaname Sudo. He's looking to get a new bike, but lacks the cash money to do so, unlike his friend who seems to be eating well. The big fella shows him some disturbing body art trends scattered throughout the city. Kyoda, a friend in desperate need of a fresh haircut, approaches Kaname, inquiring about Hamada's whereabouts. Although Kaname has no information about Hamada's whereabouts, he mentions receiving an invitation to an enigmatic app called Darwin's Game from Hamada. Despite Kyoda's strong warning to avoid opening the app, Kaname clicks on it because it's free. When Kaname opens the app, a snake emerges from the screen and bites his neck, causing him to lose consciousness. Upon waking up in the nurse's office, Kaname is bewildered and reveals a barcode on his neck. Dismissing the snake incident as a hallucination, he decides to go home and recover from the shock. Kyoda, concerned for Kaname's well-being, advises him to avoid the game and head straight home. But as they say, curiosity killed the cat. The main man opens the game again and ends up accepting a combat challenge from a player named Banda. As the game commences, Banda on the train, resembling Ghostface in that Scream 6 trailer, approaches Kaname, who thinks it's just a prank bro till the guy swings that sharp knife at him. Fortunately, Kaname manages to defend himself and escapes through the city, desperately seeking help from bystanders. Unfortunately, everyone mistakes the situation for mere advertising, allowing Banda to continue his relentless pursuit. Even cops are verified NPCs. Luckily, just as Banda is about to deliver a fatal blow to Kaname, Kyoda intervenes to protect him. However, Banda mysteriously becomes invisible and manages to stab Kyoda, leaving him severely injured, so they flee and hide in the meantime. While hiding, Kaname attempts to contact the authorities, but Kyoda reveals that communication with the outside world is impossible within the game, except between players who are forced to fight each other. Kaname receives a message on his phone from a girl named Shuka, offering help. However, his disappointment grows when she explains that there is no way to quit the game. Despite Kyoda's injuries, Kaname lures Banda away, aware that Banda can track his position using the phone. Banda, armed with the policeman's gun, corners Kaname in a bathroom, but Kaname cleverly uses a fire hydrant to his advantage so he can see him and fight back. However, when they make it outside, the invisibility hack works again, and the main character's fate seemed doomed till the power of plot armor kicked in and Banda in his invisible mode got isekai by Truck-kun Lil Bro. Victorious but shaken, Kaname witnesses Banda's body disintegrating into pixelated outlines similar to the street art scattered across the city. It dawns on Kaname that these outlines represent the remains of those lost in Darwin's game. Filled with grief, Kaname rushes back to find Kyoda only to discover his friend turned into sick graffiti due to his injuries. Before his passing, Kyoda left a final message for Kaname urging him to survive the ordeal. A high-ranking player named Shuka learns of Kaname's victory over Banda and is amazed at the rookie's win over a strong opponent. Meanwhile, another high-ranking player that looks like a snake was going to town slicing and dicing opposite clan members. He aims to take control of their turf, and looking at his body of work, it's safe to say he will be the big bad of the series. Back to Kaname, our boy receives an unexpected invitation from Shuka, and though hesitant, he reluctantly agrees to meet her in an old warehouse. Upon seeing her, Kana blushed at how cute Shuka is. Oh, little does he know, cute and crazy go hand in hand. After she unveils the disturbing truth that once a player joins Darwin's game, they are unable to leave, the killer hottie questions the noob about his sigil, a unique ability granted by the game to aid in combat. However, being a newbie, the man does not know what the heck she's talking about, so she tells him it should be written in his profile. He checks it only to discover that his listed abilities are undefined. Shuka challenges Kaname to a fight, stating that she cannot trust him until she knows his sigil. Thinking fast on his feet, Kaname manages to temporarily blind Shuka with a flashlight, which, as she puts it, a bullshit. Kaname tries to escape, but Shuka locks the warehouse, trapping him inside. She switches on the lights and continues the chase, swinging around like a psycho Tarzan that can control chains, which Kaname with the moves like Jagger manages to dodge. He then attempts to fight back with his taser, but she breaks it. While trying to run from the chains controlled by Shuka's sigil, Kaname hears a voice inside him. Following its guidance, he discovers his own sigil, the ability to summon any weapon he has touched before. Suddenly, a gun materializes in his hand, giving him the opening he needs to regroup before Shuka continues her assault. Cornered, Kaname starts analyzing his situation and goes through some inner monologue type shit till he figures out a plan. Using the gun as a decoy, the main man hides in a dark corner and closes his eyes to adjust them to the darkness before the lights go off, so that he has no problem trapping her in the darkness and ultimately defeating her. Refusing to kill Shuka with a bullet, Kaname kills her with mercy. In other words, she surrenders the match and loses some points to him. Exhausted, Kaname lets out a sigh of relief and collapses on top of his opponent's pie, something we can show fully with a clear conscience, unlike the next scene when the main man wakes up in the hottie's bed with her on top of him in her birthday suit, asking to make a family. She explains that with a family she meant to form a clan which the player creates a bond by joining forces with other players. Shuka continues to explain how Darwin's game point system works. Turns out that players can use points to redeem real-life benefits and items. Shuka advises Kaname to use his points to hide his name from challenges for a week, as defeating 2 high-ranking characters will draw a lot of attention to him. Kaname agrees to build a clan, but he learns he must get above fighting class B2 first to make a clan. Moreover, when Kaname checks his account balance at the ATM, he is overwhelmed by yet another surprise. The points he has collected are not just a score in the game, but also transferred directly to his bank account as real money. Imagine if that was a real-life thing, my trophies in Clash of Clans would come in handy. Speaking about trophies, the main man receives a mysterious invitation for the next event, a treasure hunt. The next day, Kaname meets Shuka to investigate the area where the major game event is going to be held. During an outing, Shuka warns Kaname not to talk about the game to non-players, as it is against the rules and players who do so are killed and their accounts get deleted. Hence, players refer to the game as D-game. Back with the lovely couple for some shopping before shit hits the fan. While in the Shibuya shopping center, Kaname's phone gets swooped by a man named Inukai, and by God, his hoodie looks awesome as frick. I would like to see you rate this man Drip on a scale of 1 to 10 in the comments. The Drip Master takes Kana away to an empty alley where he questions him on how a noob like him could defeat 2 famous players like Shuka, who was known as the undefeated queen, unlike Banda, who was just known as a weirdo. Fed up with this interaction, Kaname demands his phone since losing it means death for a player. Inukai, who is eager to test the so far undefeated noob, initiates a death game against Kaname despite the latter appeals for not fighting. Meanwhile, Shuka is contacted by Rain Kashiwagi, known as the Analyst. Rain makes her living in the game as an information broker by selling interesting data as well as information. An info she has as we see her telling the Killer Queen about the snake guy making moves in the city they are in. Back to the action, we see Kaname stealing the Super Saiyan phone when the guy went for a flying knee. The undefeated queen arrives to back up her king, making it hard for Inukai to retrieve his phone, so he surrenders peacefully and gets all chummy. Inukai tells them he is part of the Donjo's boxing club clan, and that he is down to make new friends. Sadly, the bonding time ends when the treasure game starts. As the 3 of them are teleported away, suddenly the treasure hunt begins and the players are transferred to separate locations. Kaname finds himself in a hotel room and receives information about the treasure hunt. The goal of the 300 participants is to find at least 3 golden rings within 24 hours. However, there are only 300 rings in total, which means the treasure hunt gonna turn into a battle royal. As the game starts, Juan, the leader of the 8, gets ambushed by a high school girl who thinks it's a good idea to go against a guy with pointy ears laughing menacingly. Needless to say, the girl gets sent flying off the roof, dropping the contestant numbers to 299. As Shuka watches the masses drooling over the quote-unquote pixel body art, she suddenly hears a loud noise. It seems that she was the only one able to hear it, while the bystanders acted like zombies leaving the area. The undefeated queen soon realizes that the game is using some sort of hypnosis to clear the playground and ensure an uninterrupted experience. In a hotel room, Kaname finds out that his phone has a function called alternate reality, which enables him to observe the rings and track the movements of the players. Additionally, it makes the cityscape look like a ruin. Almost immediately, Kaname discovers a ring hidden under his bed. He's unable to keep it for very long as he is attacked outside of his room by a player looking like he came straight up from Call of Duty. Kaname is soon cornered when plants block all the emergency exits and stairs, so he surrenders his ring to his attacker. The man attempts to shoot Kaname but finds his gun jammed. At that moment, Kaname pulls out a pistol and points at the man. But in the end, he wuss out and is unable to shoot. Laughing at his indecisiveness, the man decides to spare Kaname's life as he considers shooting someone like Kaname a waste of bullets and tells him to commit no breath. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call death by words. Shit couldn't be more humiliating. Eager to get out of the building and find his mommy to feel good about himself, Kaname waits for the elevator. Rain, the analyst, suddenly appears and stops him. When the lift door opens, Kaname realizes why the girl stopped him. The previous attacker with the machine gun is lying motionless on the ground, entangled in the grasp of plants. Rain recognizes right away that this is the work of the powerful player known as the florist, who is the reason that the entire building is covered in plants and is utilizing his plant sigil to block the exits, leading the players into a trap and then eliminating them. During this time, an audience is watching the players in the event, and from the looks of it, Shuka is in first place with 6 rings, while Wang is in second with 5 rings. That said, his clan has 18 rings aside from his. During her search for Kaname, Shuka is ambushed by a seemingly small clan, but is easily able to get rid of them. Meanwhile, the girl and the loser form an alliance after she narrates Kaname's feats so far, adding that he is still undefeated since his interaction with the budget-cut ghost didn't count as an official match, and any loss here won't deduct from one's point. Well, that's if they manage to stay alive. With details out of the way, Kaname touches the machine gun and heads out with Rain to look for an alternative route out of the building. The new Dream Team analyzes their situation, taking into consideration the powers of the flower guy and why the assailant's body was still present in the elevator and has not been transformed into a pixelated design. Kaname concludes that they are still alive and checks his phone to see the now zombie players are chasing them. The little girl, who is a first-year medical student by the way, pulls out a flash grenade from up her sleeve, allowing the two to run away. However, when he checks his phone, Kana finds out that the zombies are hot on their trail. This makes Kaname question how the florists can track their movements when they do not have any rings. Suddenly, a light bulb switches in his head. Florist must be in his surveillance room, watching them through the surveillance cameras, he concludes, impressing the mastermind. Anyways, Ray makes use of her sigil to perform an analysis of the information to determine where the florist will position his troops next. The two of them then devise a plan while hiding out in a hotel room to figure out their next step. Soon after, the florist is able to locate them. But when his soldiers investigate, they discover that both of them have already left the room. The florist is then alerted by Rain upon trying to use grenades to blow up the plants blocking the exit. Therefore, he gives the order for his soldiers to chase. Rain throws another flash bomb and opens the way to the next step. First, she led the soldiers through several flights of stairs, a true test of stamina. Then when they caught up to her, Rain used her ability to dodge their bullets and survive long enough for Kaname to use a rope and descend from a higher floor. The florist realized that and went to face him. The old man uses his plant power to make an armor that for some reason sounds like metal whenever bullets hit. Kaname puts forth every effort possible to overcome the florist. He shoots in with his pistol, machine gun throws grenades at him, and then throws more grenades but to no avail. The florist appears to be too powerful with his plant armor, and Kaname starts to become exhausted from the constant use of his sigil to summon more weapons. Thus, he uses the classic flashbang to get away momentarily, yet needless to say, the florist quickly catches up with him, something already knew gonna happen since the boss music didn't stop. As Kaname is on the verge of losing, he has a vision of a blacksmith forging weapons. The blacksmith, who appears to be a reflection of Kaname, inspires him to forge a gun that sacrifices its durability for maximum firepower. My man summoned bullets from thin air. Shit was not only cool but effective as well, piercing the plant armor. The florist tried to push through and land the last hit, but after seeing an image of his daughter, the florist stops and finds himself on the ground. It seems he has lost some time ago and was hallucinating. Kaname, being the good MC, leaves him alive to do whatever, unlike Reina, who held him at gunpoint till she made sure the florist, aka Ichiro, won't cause any trouble. She tells everyone there that a grave threat is about to occur because the 8 clan and their ruthless leader, Wang, are about to launch an assault on the building to steal the 24 rings in it. As a result of this analysis, the 3 of them conclude that they should join forces in order to combat the 8 clan using their combined strength. Meanwhile, Shuka, who has been traveling toward the building, takes out a sniper along the way, one of many she took down off-cam. Becoming annoyed by them, she decides to go underground. On the other hand, we see that the florist's mind control has been lifted, and now Kaname's former opponent with a machine gun also comes back to his senses. The main man gives Ghost 3 rings to return the favor for not killing him earlier. He then asks him to join the alliance, but the guy refuses as he doesn't want to be on the same team as the guy who brainwashed him, a reasonable behavior if dare say so myself. However, reason soon flies out the window once he learns that they will be fighting Wang and the 8th clan. It seems the guy has a bone to pick with the Snake Man. Speaking about the ugliest character in the series, he has now put his eye on the hotel to strike at nightfall the players that were not invited to the event. Back in the hotel room, Anime Ghost removes his helmet and introduces himself as Ryuji. Kaname was a bit dumbfounded since he looks like his dead friend, but with a better haircut. The 4 clan members, having barricaded the structure in order to be as well prepared as they possibly can for the future war, discuss the ring's anomalies, system, and the event's end condition, since something doesn't add up and there must be something more to it. The convo gets cut short when Kana gets a help message from his queen, who is currently drowning. Turns out, Shuka was ambushed by a water manipulator at the underground mall. The psycho kid trapped her by freezing the exits in ice. Upon realizing the hopeless situation, she sent Kaname the help message with her coordinates. The group decides to send Kaname and Ryuji to help Shuka, while Rain will cover them from the roof with his sniper rifle. As the two make their way to Shuka's location, Ryuji reveals that his sigil is the ability to tell if someone is lying. Meanwhile, Rain puzzles over the values of the various gemstones on the rings. She notices QR codes inside the rings that represent further number combinations. She comes to the conclusion that this must be the secret to winning the game and that the diamond ring, which no one has yet found, must be the missing piece of the puzzle. On the empty streets, Kaname and Ryuji meet a little girl named Sui. Near the underground mall entrance, she warns them to stay away from the subway since it's dangerous. Ryuji states that she is not lying when she says that she is not a threat, and they move to the subway. However, they find that the subway is completely flooded with water. Nevertheless, Kaname, without care, dives to rescue Shuka, while Ryuji sticks up and questions Sui. Ryuji tells the girl that he knows she was lying and demands to know what happened. Suddenly, the girl's eyes glow and a fire hydrant breaks, allowing the girl to make a run for it. Ryuji follows her and demands that she gets out, promising he won't harm her. However, his demands fell on deaf ears since he's not talking to Sui anymore. You see, the girl has a split personality, and the one in control now is the spirit of her late twin brother, Sota, who passed away years ago. They trick Ryuji into going to a convenience store where they trap him using bottled water. Sota then prepares to finish him using his bottled saber. Sui does not agree with her dead brother's ideology of killing others to survive and ends up taking control of her body. On the other hand, Kaname breaks through the ice wall and dives into the freezing water to rescue Shuka, who is unconscious. Now, unlike the loser from Workshop Witchcraft who couldn't bring himself to kiss the heroine on the lips to save her, Kaname was the man. He got that mouth-to-mouth CPR tech in him. Shit was so good when the babe regained consciousness. She thanked him with a passionate kiss. Finally, Shuka tells him the objective of her participation in Darwin's game, explaining that she is doing so to avenge the death of her parents at the hands of another player, as well as the creator of this cursed game, a common goal that Kaname now has in mind. Meanwhile, the 8 clan is goofing around with grenades while their leader takes a closer look at the rings before the assault begins. Back in the convenience store, the group learns about Sui's split personality condition. Even though Sui nearly killed Shuka, she is grateful to her for escalating her first kiss with Kaname. Afterward, they recruit Sui for their clan. Speaking about the clan, Ichiro admits that the reason he participates in the D game is to earn money to help pay the bills for his ill-hearted daughter, Suzume. Rain tries to talk him out of staying back in the hotel for the rings, but he decides otherwise since collecting them means guaranteed money for his daughter's surgery. Thus, Rain wishes him luck and leaves the building to solve the treasure hunt riddle, so they can win that way instead of fighting other players for the rings. With her out, the 8th clan enters the hotel, launching a full-scale assault on the building. The clan uses brute force to advance further and further into the building while simultaneously fighting their way through plant barricades. One of the commanders steps inside the elevator first to clear it from traps, since his power naturally counters the florist, who exits from the other elevator to kill the weed and then meet the big bad wolf. Elsewhere, we see Rain running to the Shibuya train station after getting her hands on a diamond ring and sorting the stones according to their hardness. Unlucky for her, though, she finds the 8th clan already waiting there with their leader. Meanwhile, Ichiro is still facing the commander Sieg, whose pyrokinesis sigil puts him at a significant advantage since, as you know, plants get burned even though they make Dark Souls armor that sounds like metal whenever bullets hit it. Ichiro, with no other option, runs from the fire demon, putting his faith in the traps he put along the way. Sadly, Sieg with his power just blazed right through them, and to make matters worse, Ichiro is suddenly ambushed by Keiichi, one of Wang's best henchmen. Now on the ground, the florist, refusing to die easily, throws a grenade he hid in a room and then vanishes, leaving a trail of blood behind. While using sigil to extend his own life, Ichiro triggers a trap, causing the building to collapse and crush the members of the 8 clan inside. In the meantime, Rain overhears 2 gang members and learns that although the leader of the 8, Wang, realizes the real treasure must be there, they could not find it despite thoroughly searching every inch of the station since they don't know what it is. Hence, their new objective is to catch any player there and question them because they must know something to be in the station, which they do when a guy catches the scent of Rain using his wolf nose sigil. Yup, the man's power is to sniff girls out, a creepy power for a creepy man. But the creepiest of them all is none other than the big bad Wang, who appears in front of the lovely Rain and puts her in an arm hold as he tries to extract information about the treasure from her. She tries to buy some more time by telling an old Chinese story about various venomous insects being put in the same box to see which is the king of venom. Anyways, thanks to this story, Rain's clan shows up and rescues her from Wang's grasp. After peaceful negotiation fails, Ryuji and Shuka bravely fight the 8th, while Kaname takes the injured Rain to a safe place where she is tasked with figuring out the final code to end the game. Rain then journeys into her deepest self to find the code. Ryuji tries to get away from Wang because he believes that Wang's attacks are only effective when they are close to the target. However, Wang uses his sigil to slice Ryuji's left hand and attack him from behind. As Kaname returns to assist his friends in their fight against the 8, he finds that Wang has already captured Ryuji and is about to execute him. But Kaname manages to stop him with a gimmick. He asserts to have solved the riddle and found the key to the treasure, asking Wang to spare his life in exchange for granting him access to the key. According to Kaname, the key will allow him to access the treasure behind the locked door. However, Ryuji is aware that Kaname is lying, and he is also aware that Wang is interested in hearing his boss out thanks to his sigil. To his shock, a bluff works, and Kaname hands Wang the key for the guarantee that he spares his life alone, claiming he doesn't care about Ryuji's life. But Ryuji knows better and is ready to blow himself up along with the bastard that killed his little bro. That said, Kana is not ready to lose a friend and hints to Ryuji not to pull the trigger. He then mocks the big bad, saying, "That's my scooter's key, you ugly f***." At that moment, Wang and his men begin to be teleported back. You see, when Kaname threw the key, he typed a combination of numbers at the station's machines, which is the real code to win the game, and it was all thanks to Rain finding out that the code represents the publication date of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. Now that Kaname is alone at the station, he opens the box from the locker and finds a mobile phone inside. The phone rings and the game master congratulates Kaname on his victory. He explains to him that in addition to the points he has won, he is now also entitled to a very special prize. Namely, Kaname may choose an in-game privilege. He also gives our boy the title Fire God of Iron. But Kaname doesn't care, he only wishes to exit the game, but is told that he can only do so by completing it or killing the game's creator. So instead, he makes use of his request by asking for something else. After hearing the request, the game master is intrigued. It has been 2 months since the Shibuya devastation incident was formally classified as a terrorist assault. Sue is now residing at Shuka's home. Eventually, Shuka decides to purchase a home for the clan. Meanwhile, Kanehira, an insurance broker and participant in Darwin's game, pays a visit to Suzume in the hospital and presents her with a claim for her father's passing insurance. At the same time, Rain, who is healing from a broken arm, befriends her. Rain claims to know what happened to Suzu and his father, but cannot provide any information because Suzume is not a Darwin game player. Kaname, looking like a Giga Chad, has been working out at Danjo's boxing club for the past 2 months under the Drip Master guidance, while Ryuji was there to heal his hand by a hottie named Keide, who can reattach limbs back as if nothing happened. Kaname asks the Danjo boxing club for an alliance. As a result, Master Danjo demands that he competes against him while using his sigil and prove himself worthy of becoming your clan's ally. Meanwhile, Shinozuka visits Kaname's apartment to check up on him since he was missing for a while. Unfortunately, Keiichi, who survived the building collapse, kidnaps Shinozuka. Back at the dojo, Danjo lays the rules for the sparring match. Kaname has complete access to his sigil, tools, and everything he wants as long as he doesn't aim to kill or destroy the building. Yukai will act as the referee while Ryuji, Keide, and Rain, who joins in seconds, enjoy the show. The duel starts as soon as Kaname uses his power to summon a gun, but the big man gives him no time to capitalize it by throwing a Superman punch, which Kaname with his impressive reflexes dodges. Like usual, when bullets fail to do the job, Kana wicks out those nades, but they have no effect. Kaname manages to survive long enough thanks to his sigil. Our boy was using his new toys like John Wick. When Danjo corners Kaname, the latter attacks with a flash grenade, forcing Danjo to use his sigil to harden his body in anticipation of an explosive attack. Proving once again playing against spammers is the worst, but Danjo doesn't mind it and deems Kaname worthy enough to ally himself with his Sunset Ravens clan. The duel is interrupted by a masked woman who uses her sneaky energy sword technique to make both lads freeze, as it mimics the feeling of actually getting hit by a fatal strike. She then kidnaps him and takes him away in her limo. The woman is later revealed to be Xulan Liu, the top player in Darwin's game, who comes from a long line of assassins. She recognizes Kaname's potential and considers him the ideal partner to have children together and pass on their skills to the next generation. However, Loverboy declines her proposal. An outraged Shuka along with Rain, Ryuji, and Sui chase Liu's car. In the meantime, when Leah refuses to let him go, Kaname issues a challenge to her. He tells her that if she can escape from his clan, the Sunset Ravens, without killing a single person, he will become her servant, her husband, or whatever she desires him to be. An offer that a horny, strong, independent woman can't pass. Thereafter, Rain fires a sniper shot at Liu's car tires, but they prove impenetrable to the bullet. Then Shuka launches an attack on Liu from the roof of her car, and a fight breaks out on top of the cars. At first, Shuka's attacks appear fruitless, but Kaname steps in and throws bottles at Liu. Shuka uses her chains to direct the bottles onto the tires of Liu's car, and Sui freezes the water in the bottles, preventing them from moving and thus blocking the wheels. After that, Kaname tells her that she lost. Liu initially disagrees, but after her butler explains that Liu's inability to move around without the limo and the lack of effectiveness of her tactics against Shuka would likely have resulted in the opponent's death had the battle continued, Liu gives up and declares her desire to join the Sunset Ravens clan. Kaname agrees despite objections from many clan members. Meanwhile, the 8 clan is already plotting their new revenge. They hold Kaname's schoolmate captive and torture him to send a video to Kaname to lure him. Soon after, Rain meets with Kotori from the Icy Crown clan. What a shitty clan name. Both gals chit-chat a bit. Rain states that the 8 clan is currently hiding in a warehouse, but she doesn't know how many there are, so the girl informs her that the clan is down to almost 15 members, all due to the heavy casualties they suffer from attacking the florist. Before Rain leaves, Kotori asks her for a favor, which is to use her influence to get her into the Sunset Ravens. Rain isn't happy with the request since she doesn't want to complicate a situation with the clan Kotori is in right now, and tells her that she'll pass it on to Kaname but doesn't promise anything. Meanwhile, Kaname is raging after seeing his friend being tortured. Ryuji talks him out of his rage mode and reveals their objective, which is to rescue Shinozuka and beat the leader of the 8, Wan. Ryuji also expresses disappointment that they still couldn't get in touch with their newest ally, the number 1 ranked Liu. Rain arrives, telling the group she now has all the necessary information they need to storm the warehouse, which gets surrounded by cops. The Sunset Ravens and Inukai reach their destination and run their game plan, stating that the main goal is to save the kid and leave without killing anyone, even the leader Wan. The undefeated queen, who got defeated twice now, tells the clan that the police are getting handled by Keiichi, so they use it as a distraction to sneak from another location. While Wang effortlessly slaughters another police unit coming from the back, Shuka stealthily hands Shinozuka a smartphone pre-installed with Darwin's game. Kaname instructs him to open the app. Lacking fingers, Shinozuka gives that phone a licky, and he gains a sigil of telekinetic abilities. Shinozuka uses his sigil to defend himself against the 8 players, but then boss music starts playing and Wang enters. Meanwhile, the Sunset Ravens waste no time and immediately begin their assault on the 8. In the battle against the assailants, Sui and Rain join forces and Inukai engages in combat with Keiichi's skills. Inukai is confused as to why Keiichi, despite his power, agreed to become Wang's follower, to which Keiichi explains that he was miserable after unintentionally killing his opponent in the semifinals of a martial arts competition. The opponent's family refused to forgive him, so Keiichi gave up and turned to alcohol. However, Wang manipulated and convinced him to become a killer, using the fact that he had already taken his life as leverage. Elsewhere, Kaname and Ryuji enter the warehouse and demand that Wang release Shinozuka. However, Wan laughs and tells Kaname to look behind him, where Kaname finds Shinozuka's dismembered body parts. Witnessing Shinozuka's brutal death, something changes within Kaname. With 3 of his classmates, Hamada, Kyoda, and now Shinozuka, having been killed in this game, he breaks his principles of not killing. Kaname decides that there is no other option but to kill all the members of the 8, starting with the lackeys. Kaname starts a clan battle with the remaining members of the 8 clan, deciding to eliminate the 8 due to their homicidal behavior both inside and outside the game. Wang tells everyone to shoot at Kaname, but Kaname swiftly kills all the members of the 8, leaving Wang speechless. Wang becomes enraged and teleports behind Kaname, intending to kill him. However, Kaname reveals that Wang always follows the same pattern. At that moment, Shuka's chain strikes Wang in the shoulder, shocking him. Kaname instructs Shuka to take care of Wang while he fights his way forward aggressively, shooting anyone who gets in his way. Shuka takes on Wang single-handedly, manipulating the thin wires covering the entire warehouse with micro-vibrations generated by her sigil. She successfully entangles Wang in the wire net and sends him spiraling through the air, but Wang manages to use his sigil at the last second to avert a fatal collision. Going through all that, it is revealed that Wang actually perceived everything as a game and considered himself the main character. Unlucky for him, the real main character and Ryuji are already in front of Wang, pointing their weapons at him. Kaname reveals his granted privilege to Wan, explaining that he's a high roller who gambles everything on winning the fight against the 8 clan. As a result, all of the 8 clans' points have been transferred to the account of the Sunset Ravens, and the opponents have been eliminated from the competition. As the remaining members of the 8 get teleported, Kaname kills Wong with a bullet to the head as a final greeting, showing Kaname as the king of Venom. Even though the fight against the 8 is over, Kaname is still determined to get his revenge on the Game Masters and put an end to the game once and for all. His clan agrees to support him in this endeavor. Together, the now-killer Sunset Ravens take over the Shibuya area, spreading the message that the D-Game is forbidden on their territory by wiping out clans, but still keeping a few members alive to spread the message. The Game Master, on the other hand, is delighted with these developments as the game can finally reach its next level. The end.